All right, it says we are live. Excuse me. And I'm assuming we are because look who's here. Look who's here. It's kittens of men. It is the great Peachy, the cockroach hunter. I wish I had more vermin for her. I feel like her talents are being wasted. But on the other hand, I could live without vermin. How is everybody today? You're here because I'm going to be talking about this movie that I've been talking about called Children of Men. Of course, there may be a time during this transmission where I may have to leave and return. So I'm just front loading that part of the experience. So I'm going to kind of hang out for a little bit and wait for people to show up and sort of assemble because people are getting the notification now. And I probably should have just put the notification up earlier. But I got up at 5 a.m. this morning. And I made it a point to go to bed early last night because I had to work on this. Like there's a lot of work to be done for this presentation. So I wanted to make sure I gave myself enough time and go to the gym because I wanted to get back into the gym. It's kind of interesting because I was like getting down on myself. Man, you haven't been to the gym lately. Because I got sick about 3 weeks ago, and I got out of that rhythm that you kind of need to establish going to the gym. And I know I talk about the timeline stuff, right? But I went to the gym today, and I go in there, and it says, "Welcome to your new gym." Right? It was like, oh, there was this old gym that I used to go to before, and now this is my new gym. And I thought, well, isn't that interesting? And then I remembered that they were going to shut down for like 10 days to make some improvements to the gym. And I had forgotten about that. So it didn't matter whether I went to the gym anywhere, didn't go to the gym because I couldn't go to the gym. And you're probably saying, well, maybe you could have gone to some other gym. That's probably true, but I have a membership already at this other gym. So I just thought that was odd. It's like last time I was there, it wasn't the same gym. Now it's a new gym. The hits just keep on coming. So overnight, everything happens overnight. Have you noticed that? It's kind of like Dark City, another amazing movie that came out around the same time as The Matrix. Did not get as much publicity as The Matrix, but I think it's just as good as The Matrix. In some ways, it might even be better than The Matrix. In Dark City, while everybody is sleeping at night, the controllers of this very unusual world literally make physical changes to the environment that they're in. People wind up in different roles, different lives, right? And then they wake up and they have this amnesia, but they are suddenly playing these new roles that they've been assigned. And that's what it feels like. It feels like, you wake up the next day and all of a sudden the deck chairs on the planet have been moved around. So last night, the Obamas endorsed Kamala Harris. Everybody's like, well, why aren't they endorsing her? Why aren't they endorsing her? Well, maybe it was because they, wanted to drive the price of their endorsement up. There's always that possibility. People were saying, "Oh, they're not endorsing her because they want to run Big Mike." That was never going to happen. That was never going to happen. The scrutiny with that would have been off the charts. And there's just too much weird pictorial evidence to suggest that Michelle is wearing the pants in the family, right? There's just too much weird pictorial evidence for that. I was like, no, that's a no. That's a no. So overnight they did endorse Kamala, and let's see what else happened. Oh, she met with Bibi Netanyahu. Met with Bibi Netanyahu, said she will support Israel. Unquestioned support for Israel. But she does have concern for the Palestinians. That is a fine quality to have, concern for the Palestinians. So there are people out there who were saying, well, she's going to get hammered by AIPAC and she's going to get hammered by the Jewish community and for not support. I don't think that that's the case. So she and her handlers are covering their bases. So just overnight, right? The Netanyahu meet and greet and the endorsement by Obama. They're going to have a virtual, I think they're going to have a convention, virtual convention, where they're actually going to nominate her before the convention that's supposed to happen. Which, I mean, I don't know. Maybe they're going to have some kind of other physical thing. Maybe they should. Astrologically, it's a full moon in Aquarius in a conjunction with Saturn, Kamala Saturn conjuncting the midheaven. So if you wanted to take advantage of the astrological powers of be, you'd want to have that convention taking place at that time in placing the crown upon Queen Kamala's head. Who knows? Maybe they will. Maybe they won't. We'll see. We'll find out about it. The other thing that happened last night is that apparently they're putting together a massive fundraiser for Kamala Harris. And this will be a musical fundraiser, which will include both Taylor Swift and Beyonce. And it's going to be in LA. And they're going to televise this thing, and they're going to raise a shit ton of money for Kamala Harris and a shit ton of votes for, well, potential votes, right? And I think they're going to have I think Jay-Z is going to be involved, like all these people. Kamala Harris is going to storm the media. She already is. It's been, let's see, 2 weeks since the assassination attempt on Donald Trump. And it's like it never happened. Because everything from here on out is going to be Kamala 24/7. So get prepared for it. They're putting everything behind Kamala. But there was a very strange event that took place in California. I think it was about a day ago, maybe yesterday, where Gavin Newsom has ordered that all the homeless encampments in California be dismantled. And some people are saying that that's in preparation to make a presidential run. I don't know if it can happen. Right? I don't know if it can happen. And I don't think he can be vice president because they can't be both from the same state. But who let a rule or two stop anything, right? There are rules for thee, and there are rules not for thee. And we are the ones that are usually the recipients of the rules for thee. So that's all happening very, very quickly, very quickly. And I was talking with Tom this morning, and I said, I think Trump made a mistake on his vice presidential candidate. And I I'd been banging my head around a little bit, or just it was clanging around in my head. Like, who would have been the ideal candidate for Trump, vice presidential candidate? And and some people were saying, "Oh, well, Tulsi Gabbard." I'm like, kind of. It would have been. I think it would have been better than Vance. That's what I think. Would have been better than Vance. Because at least she would be a woman, right? So to kind of balance the thing out. Vance made a comment that somebody like Kamala Harris, who has not produced any biological children, should not be president. And while I agree, listen, I agree in spirit with him. I do. I agree in spirit because you have to have investment in the future. And I know there are women who are watching this, do not have children. And this is not meant in any way, shape, or form to disrespect you, because I know that you give in other areas of your life. Look, the lovely and talented one has never had children, but that doesn't mean that she is not, you know, taking care of people and animals and plants. She's fulfilling her role as a nurturer of life, right? So it doesn't mean you can't do it, but there's something about having a biological child that gives you an investment in the future that other people can't or don't have. And I feel the same way about Peter Thiel. It's like all these people are talking about, his technology and all this kind of breakaway civilization stuff, and I'm like, you know, it's not that I'm not against it, but my beef with him is that he doesn't have any biological children. So anything that he creates is an outgrowth of his consciousness, which does not include the future. Right? It includes him in the present. It may be him in his life extended future, but not his biological future. And whenever and again, I'm not here to step on and denigrate anybody that doesn't have a child, but it just changes your life, right? It changes your life. It changed my life, and I know it's changed a lot of your lives as well. I think it even changed Elon Musk's life. I think the first batch of kids he has weren't they all like in vitro kids? It was really weird. Like Elon Musk had like 6 kids. It's like 6 fucking kids. I think they were all test tubey and they all happened at once. But the kid that he had with Grimes, I believe, was a biological child. And it seems to me now I don't fully trust Elon Musk. Like I really, the only person I really trust in that world is Thomas Massey, and very few people outside of Thomas Massey at that level, right? So I don't really trust Elon Musk, but I will say that I believe his um, patterns of behavior, concern about speech, blah 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 blah, a level playing field. I do think that that's an outgrowth of having a child. So it does change you. So I feel the same way about Peter Thiel as I do about Kamala Harris. Like there's no investment in the future. And I know she's the stepmom to Doug's kids. It's nice. It's good. It's not the same. And how much are they actually even in Washington anyway? I don't know. I think they live in Southern California. And it's going to come up again later today as we go through Children of Men. But getting back to my original clanging around in my head, who would have been Trump's ideal vice presidential candidate? Candace Owens. Candace Owens would have been the ideal vice presidential candidate. Number one, Candace Owens is black. Kamala Harris, not really. Not really. Kamala Harris is Caribbean. There is a difference, right? There's a difference. She's Caribbean and she's East Indian. So she's East Indian and West Indian. But she's not like Candace Owens. Very different. Candace Owens has children. That's the other thing. Like now you got a black woman on your ticket and she has children. And Candace Owens is fearless. The problem, and people say, well, she doesn't have any political experience. Well, RFK's vice president doesn't have any political experience. Didn't stop him from hiring her or naming her as a VP, right? The problem with Candace Owens is that it would have just completely turned off the Christian Zio voter base because she got to a beef with Ben Shapiro and has been Candace Owens has been getting based. Okay, getting based. And there would be a lot of people that would say, Trump is named, a little black Hitler or something, right, for his vice presidential candidate. But I still think she would have been a good choice. She would have been a good choice. Why not? She could tear Kamala Harris apart. I think if this all goes down in this direction, I think Trump has he's got a fight on his hands. Remember, styles make fights. Styles make fights. All right, so I missed our girl yesterday, our gal, goth mother, Warlanda. It was her birthday yesterday, and I said I was going to play something over on 15 minutes, and I did not do that. And I told Warlanda that I would play her a belated birthday song because she's in the birthday weekend zone, so she can celebrate till Monday easily. All right, so let's do a little. Oh man, what am I going to do with this? Let's try to open this up. There we go. Haha. This is for. Okay. God. I think she'll like this. Okay, just hang in there with me. We'll get to the meat of the show. But we have to take care of one of our own. Okay. All right. Here we go. Now, I have to admit, I'm coming in cold on this one. I have not vetted this birthday song, but the lovely and talented one thought it was appropriate. So, Warlanda, this one's for you. A belated happy birthday.
Hello there, Coffee. Happy birthday. I know, I'm the happy birthday singer, and your friends, Coffee, they've asked for me to come and sing a special happy birthday song to you today on their behalf. So here I go with a specially requested happy birthday song just for you, Coffee. Oh, happy birthday to you, happy birthday to you, happy birthday, Coffee, happy birthday to you. For you're a jolly good fellow, Coffee is a jolly good fellow, you are a jolly good fellow, and so say all of us, so say all of us, and so say all of us. You're a jolly good fellow, Coffee is a jolly good fellow, you are a jolly good fellow, and so say all of us. Hip, hip, hooray! Hip, hip, hooray! Hip, hip, hooray for Coffee's birthday. So there's your song, requested by your friends, sung by me, just for you, Coffee, today on your birthday. So you have a great day, have a lot of fun, and if you're very lucky, next year on your birthday, your friends might invite me back again to sing another special happy birthday song to you, Coffee, on your birthday. Goodbye. Have fun, birthday one. Coffee, you're looking good and so young.
What did I just see? What did I just see? Orlando, I hope you appreciated that. I hope you're in here somewhere and you appreciated that. That's for you. All right, who's in chat today? Let's see what we got. Janice Phillips. There's our wild one. She's a wild one. She's a wildcat from Oklahoma. She raised wildcats. Lady Lou, how are you? Susie G. Susie G's got some new content up. I just saw that. All right. Who else do we have in the house? Kabuki Theater. Hey, Bo. Kamala is very popular. You're going to get a quadruple dose of Kamala every day. I love Friday's show. I can actually relax because most of the chores are done. Oh, good. Good. All right. Who else do we have? I saw this movie. It creeped me out. By the way, spoiler alerts all over the place. I don't want you to leave the show, but if you haven't seen the movie, you're going to kind of see it today. TJ is back here, back in the house. Look at that. Literally back in the house. They can produce humans in a plastic bag and raise them cradle to grave. You know, it takes a village. You know, I was thinking about this, Bo, and I was thinking about it in terms of the whole Biden thing and the mystery of Biden. And there's this channel that's called Mind Unveiled, which is, I think, a really good channel. And my sense is that they're somewhere in the South, like maybe Georgia or North Carolina or someplace like that. And they did a whole series. It's like a Tartaria channel, and they did a whole series on the Cabbage Patch Kids, and they found all this really kind of startling art and weird photos of kids growing out of cabbages in fields. Like it was a big thing. And of course, later on we have the Newsom didn't run after Biden. Okay, there you go. No Newsom. Of course, the Cabbage Patch Kids dolls, which were very popular and were a strangely popular hobby for men. You ever run across a man that's got a Cabbage Patch fucking doll collection? Isn't that a little weird? Just saying. Anyway, then they make this connection between these kids that grew up in these Cabbage Patches. It's very strange. And Invasion of the Body Snatchers, because there's some weird parallels between the cabbage in the pod. It's very odd. And they showed pictures of Chinese cabbage. But I really like Chinese cabbage. Also known as Napa cabbage, I think. It's the same thing. But before it gets to your store, it doesn't look the way that it looks in the produce section. It looks weird. Like you look at that and you go, ooh, I'm not sure I want to eat that. It looks a little like the pod from Invasion of the Body Snatchers. So the idea here, right, is that if they're right, if these people who are going down this path are basically saying, hey, look, they can basically grow these kids. And then we'll just harvest them and we'll put them in all these incubators at these World's Fairs, which is, if you went to these World's Fairs, they would have a special pavilion set aside for babies in incubators. Like, how the fuck, how did that happen? Right? Like, let's just wrap our head around, oh, yeah, there's 200 babies in incubators. Let's go just look at them. Oh, little baby, hello, baby. So Jerry Seinfeld says his father was one of those babies. Now, if you think about it, and let's just presuppose for a moment that it's a technology. And it's a technology that they used to repopulate areas after a reset. Oh. Could that technology also have been developed to do different things and produce Bidens or whomever, right? Maybe. But getting back to the point about this whole idea of artificial birth, it based on, and those videos are really long. Like if you find Mind Unveiled to watch those videos, you're committing over the arc of those videos, you're committing to about 15 hours of hardcore deep dive into Cabbage Patch kids that are ultimately winding up in incubators and then repopulating the world. So it's probably been around for a long time anyway. Right? But one of the themes of Children of Men is infertility. And with Pluto and Aquarius, Pluto's all about sex. Like Pluto is the sex planet. It's the regeneration planet. So Pluto in Aquarius is about what? It's about sex. Pluto's procreation. The 8th house is procreation. So if it's about sex and procreation, what is Aquarius? It's scientific. It is synthetic. It is not natural. It's not natural. So everybody who's been talking about this in the chat, you're over the target. And it is a theme in Children of Men, which we'll talk about. Let's see who else is here. Julie Sunshine, Big Cat Lady. Hope you're well, Julie. Let's see who else do we have. Stephen, the Jupiterian. What's happening, Stephen? Good to see you. Mindy Beth. Hi, Mindy Beth. Ryan, what's happening, Ryan? My man, good to see you as well. Aaron L. Harry Bowie. Hey. Feeling great today. Me too. Getting up in the morning and going to the gym. What a that's a good thing. It's a good thing. My man, Whit. What's going on, Whit? Good to see you. Peachy needs to go to the Watergate Hotel for, I don't know. That was crazy. It was like, hey, let's bring the plague to the Watergate. Let's just bring the plague to the Watergate. Let's just dump all these locusts and worms and maggots. Where do you get the maggots? You think you can get them on Amazon? Mail order maggots? No, that's a business. All right. Sandra Jack Shaw. My male cat loves to fillet chipmunks. That's a badass male cat. You don't want more environment for kitties. Mine are murdering everything right now, and they always bring it inside. There's blood and guts every morning. I know. I'm okay with it. I'm okay. It just feels like her talents are going to waste. Speaking of talents, there she is, the lovely and talented one, Dr. Joan S. Yes, becoming a member of the 11th House. We've got a members-only event. Some of you have said, "Oh, I didn't get a notification." Well, pretty sure I hit that notify thing, but I'm going to go in after the show. I'm going to make sure I'm going to go through with a fine-tooth comb and make sure you members only, you will get it. It's tomorrow at 1 p.m. And it's about the months that are ahead of us. Lord help us. Amy Gill. Hi, Amy. Michelle, did I feel the earthquake? Where's the earthquake? Is it in California? California has fires too. No earthquake here. Let's see, who else do we have? You had me at Pisces in time. My sun sign. Oh, there you go. Pisces. It's a good sign. You know my motto about Pisces. You line up 100 Pisces in a row, and they'll all be different. Now, you can go a little bit deeper, and you'll find some commonality. But it is, for me, it's the sign that has the most variant. Why is that, Robert? Well, I'm glad you asked, Robert. It's because it's the last sign in the zodiac and has every single sign in it. That's why. And that's why sometimes it's hard to get a handle on Pisces, because they're a rainbow. They're a rainbow of astrological expression. Let's see. Who else do we have here? Love Dark City. Dark City's great. Lisa Ann White, The Law. You've never seen The Matrix. It's okay to admit that there are films that you've never seen. There are a lot of films that I've never seen. And sometimes after a while, you're just like, I'm like, fuck it. I'm not going to watch that movie. I'm just not going to, I'm not going to watch it. It took me all this time to not watch the film. Why watch it now? But The Matrix is good. The Matrix is good. I'll tell you movies I've never seen. Never seen. I've never seen Goodfellas. Never seen Goodfellas. Is my life lesser for it? No. I've seen a lot of Martin Scorsese movies. I've never seen Goodfellas. I've never seen that movie Heat. I've never seen that. Not opposed to it. I've never seen E.T. Not into it. I've never seen E.T. and I'm okay with not seeing E.T. I'm fine with not seeing E.T. I've seen parts of Close Encounters, but I've never seen the full movie Close Encounters. So there's some movies I've never seen. I'm okay. I'm all right with it. But The Matrix is pretty good. I'm not sure you have to watch the other two, although I did enjoy them later on after I watched them more than when I saw them in the theater. So there you go. All right, who else do we have here? Paula Lynn, hey, Paula Lynn, hey. Mary Grether, hi, Mary. Nice to see you in here. Jackie Delario, the Empress of South Jersey. Darling, hello, darling. Knight of Cups. KFC. Aaron L. BB at Mar-a-Lago today. Do you know what it's like? In Star Trek, they have these two races. We'll call them races from other planets. And they're the enemies of Earth and the Federation. One of those races, they're called the Romulans. And they're pretty violent. They're violent people, the Romulans. Right? And I'm having a Star Trek blank. The other race is the Klingons. They're not real friendly either. And it feels like we have to make a choice between the Romulans and the Klingons. That's what it feels like. It's like, well, let's see. Who would I rather have rule over me? Well, the Romulans have they've got a little better fashion. They're a little better they've got a better fashion sense than the Klingons. They look a little more human than the Klingons. But on the Klingon side, you really know where you stand. The Romulans are a little sneaky. They'll pretend to be your friend, but they're not. The Klingons will never, ever pretend to be your friend. Unless, of course, you win their respect in battle, which Captain Kirk had done on more than one occasion. But those are our choices. Do we vote Romulan candidate or Klingon candidate? I don't know. Is Bobby Kennedy the Vulcan? You know, he is sitting in a very powerful position now. He knows it too. All right, who else do we have? I'm going to get going here. Brandy Herrera. What's happening? Let's see. Oh, dear God, no. Nora Rashid, the Queen of Speed. My Gen Z daughter and friends are not buying her approach. Good. Good. Yes, please come join us. Come join us over here in the Hill Country. In October, we are going to have Mario from Symbolic Studies, DJ Pebbles, me, Darlena from Darlena and Human Design will be here. We'll have a few surprises. It's all happening at the Inn of the Hills in Kerrville. Come join us. First weekend in October. It's always a blast. You get to meet people from chat and you know, people fall in love with each other for 3 days. That's what they do. They fall in love with each other. And friendships are made, and it's a cool thing. So I hope you all can join. And I kept the price down this year so that I can encourage more people to come. Gen Z's got good bullshit meters. Kamala will connect in with the millennials, and there's a lot of them. Second largest group after the baby boomers. It's like hyping up the Olympics, and I think it will lead to big disappointment. Well, you know, no comment on the Olympics. The Olympics used to stand for something when there were so-called amateurs. And that great Cold War tension between the West and the United States and East Germany and Russia and steroids and East German swimmers that looked like linebackers. Like, that was the shit. Now Russia can't even go to the Olympics. I'm sorry, you can't go. And neither can your little friend Belarus. You're not invited. I've been able to use my workout, put motivation out since T was attacked, like Robert's workout schedule. Battling nihilism in the madness the last 2 weeks. It's coming. You get your mojo back, Bo. You get your mojo back. Just go do one of them hot mineral baths. You get your mojo back. Ooh, happy Friday. Look at that. True to his word. The homeless encampments around Sacramento are getting fairly big last year, been cleaned out. Where will the homeless people go? Where will they go? Whitney Webb thinks so too. Should have picked Tulsi. Maybe. Candace Owens would have been a better choice. But she's on the outs with the Zios. That ain't gonna happen. Tulsi, we could do a whole show in Tulsi. Lana Labonte is here. What's going on, Lana? Good to see you. People in Arizona, Nevada are upset because they don't want them being bused to their states. Yeah, it's a lot. Do you know who did that? When Rajneesh was up in Antelope, Oregon, Rajneesh Paran, Ma Non-Shield was running that thing, right? They were bringing all these homeless people to Antelope so that they could have residents there and vote and get all the people from Rajneesh Param elected to the city council and the mayor. They fucking brought homeless people up there. Like, hey, I mean, they went to LA. Hey, you want to come to this place up in Oregon? It's a nice place to live. And you get 3 meals a day, and you can do all this stuff, and smoke some reefer. Yeah, you can smoke reefer. Oh man, I'm coming. They literally did that. They did that. But that's a different group of homeless, different time. She swallowed all of her potential children. Oh, Joe. There you go. I like that. Kamala. Let's take an interview. Ben Carson. It's a good interview. I have to say, I'm a little worried about Ben Carson's health. He seems frail. He seems a little frail. I really like Ben Carson. But yeah, no. He was over the target. Good interview. Thanks for reminding me, Len. Children are how you win the game of life. I don't trust people who don't have kids. I've met some people with kids that I don't trust. So, I hear where you're coming from, and I'm rowing in the same boat, but I've also seen the other. So I'm just exercising a little Libra here. Let's see. Charlie's here. See, Harriet. You always got to leave space, man. You got to leave space. You got to leave some space. Ain't that the truth? How having kids? Yeah, it does. It does change you. It was weird. I became a father at 44. So I gotta, because I knew there was a period like I could either have kids in my early 20s when I was morally correct. Like I could have had kids then. But the deeper I got into my 20s and then hit my 30s, I'm like, oh, I don't know about this. I'm not sure if I'm ready, right? So then I waited until I was 44, and then it happened. And it's really interesting to have a child at that stage of your life, right? Because usually what happens is when you're young and you're a guy and your wife has kids or partner has kids, whatever, you get really ambitious. You get like, I'm going to go provide for the family. I got a family now, and I'm going to go do this. I'm going to go do that. I'm going to go achieve, and it's a thing. I've seen it. I've seen it with men when that happens. It's like, whoa, you go, dude, go get it, right? But at 44, it's a little bit different. It's a little bit different because I had kind of climbed the pyramid, and I'd done a lot of stuff, and so my focus was elsewhere with my son. I mean, I loved being a dad. Still do. I'm less of a dad now than I was, but I loved it. It was great adventure. And I was always in the rabbit hole, but after my kid, I got the fucking, Elon Musk boring machine into the rabbit hole. That's where I went. I was like, okay, I'm going to read Kathy O'Brien. That's it. That's what you do. Let's see who else we have here. Thomas Massey is real. He's the real deal. I've been under the same judgment. Female elementary teachers believe male elementary school teachers have children should be working in the classroom. Trained teacher. Oh, so I'm not, again, I'm always leaving space. Always leaving space. There's always space for the, what's the word? The variable. Well, there's always space for the variable. And look, there are some people who have kids who probably shouldn't have kids. That's the other side of the equation. But I do believe that you do have an investment in the future when you have a biological. And not everybody's meant to have kids either. Let's put it that way. I've done many charts, and I can tell you who is supposed to have kids and who's not supposed to have kids in a chart. And even if they're not supposed to, there are other things happening in their chart which supports them having kids. But that's a different discussion for a different time. Let's see. No, nobody said you can't be an elementary school teacher. No. I mean, you must have come to that conclusion on your own. I'm not making that rule. Emmy Green, there are encampments around Houston. I had a rotten mother, truly. Yeah, some people shouldn't have kids. I'm in agreement with that. Yes, Kamala would like for a lot of people to not have kids. Yeah, Candace Owens could have been the fucking, she could have been the Kamalinator. I try not to use the word K word, since people have children, not baby goats. Fair enough. Children. Like that. I like Tim Scott. He would have been solid support for Trump. Can I be honest? No. Let's see who else we have here. Candace would have been a great pick. Candace would have been a fucking superstar. But I could just see the conversations going on. Dawn. Jared here. Dawn, you may want to rethink this Candace Owens thing. Yeah. I spoke to the Rebbe this morning, and let's just say it would not be a popular decision in our world. It would not be very well supported. And Don, we know how much you really count on that support. Yeah. Hey, don't shoot the messenger. Don't shoot the messenger. I'm just sharing with you what was shared with me. Yeah. You may want to think about Vance. Okay. Bye. Let's see who else we have here. It's Orlando. Does she come by here? Deadwolf 13 Resistance. Hello there. Please hit the like and subscribe. We're getting up there. 14.4. The time came for me to ditch my former name. We've always got to ditch our former name sometime. Katie Barton. Hi, Katie Barton. Bass the Breath. Hi, folks. Well, hi to you. Scott Ains here. All right, why don't we get going? Love, Mind Unveiled. It's a good channel. Really good channel. Look at that. Nora's got some Cabbage Patch dolls. How about that? I've heard they're worth a lot of money. Just sword and knife collection. You're trying to sell most of it. Oh, let's see. Where are we? Let me go through a few more of these. Yep, it does. Look, just because you don't have a child doesn't mean you don't have an investment in the future, although there can be more investment in the future. Do you like how I put that? Do you like how I put that? All right, let's get into the show. Thank you all for being here, and I appreciate each and every one of you. So let's talk about Children of Men. We're going to do a little synopsis here. And then we're going to get into the symbolism and some other interesting goodies around Children of Men. And another movie that's connected to it in a way that you may not completely, there's no way you could connect the two, but I'm going to connect the two, and I'm going to show you how the two are connected. And it's not in a sense that, well, we're going to do this, and then years later, we're going to do this, and they're going to be connected. No, it is the beauty of myth and archetype and time. So let's just do a quick synopsis of the film, and then we're going to go into the various frames of the movie and begin to slice and dice it. So Children of Men is a 2006 dystopian action thriller film. By the way, I am always a sucker for dystopian movies. I was that kid in the 70s that loved fucking dystopian movies. Dystopian comics. The Children of Men was credited to 5 writers, although it's based on the screenplay is based on the novel by P.D. James, an English novelist. So there are 5 writers credited to it, with Clive Owen making uncredited contributions. So Clive Owen, I did not know this. I thought to myself, Clive Owen would be, he would have been a great James Bond. And apparently there was this poll that had been taken because they were talking about the next James Bond. And I wasn't aware of this, but there's poll that was taken. It might have been in England where, like, who would you want for the next James Bond? And he was at the top of the list. He was numero uno. And then they did Daniel Craig. Anyway. All right, here we go. The film was set in 2027. Isn't that interesting? 2027, when we have the Saturn-Neptune conjunction in Aries. We talked about Pluto and Scorpio and the 8th house as being procreative. Well, so is Aries, right? Remember, Mars was the original planet that ruled Scorpio, and Aries is connected to the springtime, right? It's connected to the shoots and the seasons. And if you ever look at a woman's reproductive organs, it looks like Aries. You can find a lot of the astrological signs and body parts, by the way. So it looks like Aries. And then we're coming up in 2027 with Saturn and Neptune in Aries. So Aries is the male principle, and it's generative. In Saturn, it's in its detriment, which means it's not as generative. And I still feel like all of the receipts have not come in from 2020. You follow what I'm saying? So now they're up to 2 decades of infertility. And society's on the brink of collapse. Asylum seekers seek sanctuary in the United Kingdom, where they are subjected to detention and deportation by the government. So that's a really interesting, again, we talk about predictive programming. And I remember the first time I saw Children of Men, I'm like, okay, look where we're headed. And the difference between, well, there's 2 differences. There's only one difference. And we'll see this as we go through some of the stills. In the movie, they're called Fugees, which is short for refugees. And they're mostly comprised of people from Central Europe and Muslims. Like those comprise the Fugees. What you don't see is the sub-Saharan African group, which is dominating the streets of Paris, right? But it's, in a lot of ways, it's very similar to the astroturfed diaspora that's been taking place over the last 10 years. Even recently, with the war in Ukraine, you're seeing all these Ukrainians leave Ukraine and go to places like England. There's been waves of Albanians going into England and Italy and all these other places. And in England, the Albanians have kind of taken over the cocaine trade. So the Central European demographic is clearly starting to be represented, which you'll see in the stills of the film. And of course, the Muslim demographic is very representative. So this is, in a lot of ways, a form of predictive programming. Now, this comes out in 2006, and it's not until around, was it 2014, maybe? I think it's around 2014, where that video comes out, and what's her name is talking about how Europe is no longer going to be this monolith, right? So that's around maybe 8 years after this movie. So on this end, the movie is very prescient. And again, kind of falling into that category of predictive program. The film was released by Universal Pictures on the 22nd of September in the UK. It's yours truly's birthday. And the 25th of December. Now, this is a really interesting day in the United States, right? Because that is the commercial birthday of Christ. Christmas Eve, 24th, 25th, commercial birthday of Christ. And this is the equinox, which is, again, when you look at the equinox, it is the end of one season and the beginning of another, right? Like fall is encroaching, and the all of the growth has ceased and come to an end. There may be still some things growing, right? But it's like, okay, it's the harvest time. So those 2 dates are really interesting, particularly December 25th as it relates to what we're talking about, or we'll be talking about. Okay, so just quickly. So I'm just going to read this first paragraph, and then I'm going to go into the stills that I've set up. In 2027, 18 years after human activities have caused widespread ecocide, total human infertility, war, and global depression threaten the collapse of human civilizations. The United Kingdom is one of the few remaining nations with a functioning government and has become a police state in which immigrants are arrested and either imprisoned or executed. Now, what's interesting about that is that that is not the reality of it's not the reality of what's happening there now. If anything, it's the inverse. So there's a theme in this movie that is, I don't want to use the word woke. It is definitely liberal, humanitarian. Like nobody likes to see people in cages. And this movie has some very graphic people in cages scene. So it definitely is making a case for it's definitely making a case for not bringing them in. No, it's making a case for treating people with compassion and empathy and kindness, right? But England is overwhelmed. And one of the things that you see in the movie is that the Fugees are competing for jobs. But it's kind of insanity because nobody's having any babies. So the migration thing like makes sense, but it only makes sense if they're making babies. They're not. Nobody is. And there's a reference to an earlier time, which is I think around 2008. Around 2008. And so there's a reference to this time where Theo, who is played by Clive Owen, and Julian, who is played by Julianne Moore, have a child together, and that child dies. And it has to do with a flu. Like it has this flu, and then the baby stops breathing. So there's this sense in the movie that whatever occurred to cause the infertility might have something to do with this flu, right? All right. So let's get into this here. Let me play some of these. Bring my images up. Okay. Now I've never done it like this before, but we're gonna try it. We got to pull this out. Okay. There we go. I'm gonna have all these tabs open. So this is the opening, one of the opening scenes of the movie. And I'm going to show it to you. And this was the youngest person on the planet who dies at the age of 18. And it's an incredibly emotional scene. Well, not really how the movie. It is how the movie starts, because Clive Owen's character is in a coffee shop. He's getting coffee and he's seeing this, and there are all these people around the world that are mourning. You can see that this is right at the beginning of the movie, and you can see that this is a TV screen that's in the corner of this cafe. You see cappuccino. One of the things about Children of Men is that it is incredibly amazing at world building. It's amazing. Like, you are in this place. You're in this place, and it's world building like no other movie I've ever seen. This is this is right after. This is right after he leaves the cafe, and he's outside. So it's London, November 16th, 2027. This is really the starting point of the movie. And there's a lot of kind of weird Big Brother stuff, right? There's lots of, please report suspicious activity. There's all kinds of signage around reporting Fugees, immigrants. It's really odd because the rest of the world is falling apart, but England is maintaining its position, or trying to, right? They're trying to maintain their position, stiff upper lip and all that. So this is where it begins, right? This is just the setting. They're getting you. It's placing you in the world, and then there's this bomb that goes off, and it is literally a cinematic device. Right within the first minute of the movie, you are blown out of your senses because you don't see it coming. So here's another piece of I wouldn't call it propaganda, but I'll call it propaganda. Working for the British people, report illegal workers to the RFR, whatever it is, jobs for the Brits. So Theo works for this Department of Energy. So he's a government worker, and this is him going to work. And one of the things that he does quite a bit is he drinks. He always has a bottle of whiskey or scotch with him, which, by the way, is a very Piscean thing, if you know what I mean. Alcohol is extremely Piscean, and he's never far from his bottle. So this is him getting ready to go to his workstation, and you can see that inside the workstation, or the Department of Energy, most everybody is Caucasian, and they're all mourning the death of the last baby who was born. It's a very emotional scene, and again, it's the way that the movie sets it up, right? It's very Piscean, like they're getting into your emotions, and they do a really good job of it because they play like highlights of clips from his life, and there are like, I don't know, memorials all over the streets for him, flowers. Like it's really it's a big deal. So everybody is having this collective emotional experience. Again, to me, it's very Piscean because they're sharing this feeling. It's like the one thing that reminded them of who they were at a different time is gone now. So it's like there's no going back. It's just another reminder that their own mortality and their own fate, and not just theirs, but the fate of the world is upon them, right? So it's a very heavy scene. And I wanted to grab this image here because this is how Theo is seeing the woman on the other side of her, the other side of his workstation. So she's in tears, and she has the British flag, and there's all this memorabilia. Like these are all things that are things that a child would have, right? They're like childhood trinkets, and you see this on people's cubicles. And it's almost like they're desperately holding on to the thing that they can't have or may never happen again. And again, it's very emotional, right? It is very, very emotional. So the whole idea with Children of Men in the first 5 minutes is taking you into the world, right? The world has collapsed. Oh, has it? Yes, it has. Because they're telling you, right? So this is another part of how the narrative is moved along. And through this, you will see pictures of what's happened in different countries all over the world. I'll give you another hint or hit. And it goes very quickly, right? It starts off and then it just speeds up and speeds up and speeds up and speeds up. And it gets into your psyche. Because when they do that, when the images flash so quickly, it's this metaphor for how quickly it's happened. All right. So you can see that, right? Hong Kong, Tokyo, Washington. I left out a bunch of others. There's like in New York, they've got like a massive, what looks like an atomic bomb, which has gone off. But again, this is all about the world building and bringing you into Theo's world. Now he gets off work. He doesn't want to spend the rest of the day at work. And this is what you see. Right? Oh, maybe I was wrong. Yes, there are the sub-Saharan African groups. So here in this scene, they're literally putting these people in cages. They were living in these apartments and they're throwing their goods out of the window of each apartment. Now, I know that this is open air, but Pisces represents prisons. And this is exactly what it is. It's an open air prison, right? There is a border. There is a border between the 11th house, which is the group and the collective, and the 12th house. And that border is a fence, a boxed in fence. So I'll give you another image of the. This is that one is. Yeah, okay. So this is okay, between that scene with the Fugees, Theo, Clive Owen, goes to pay his friend Jasper a visit. Jasper's played by Michael Caine. And again, in the Piscean theme, Michael Caine is a Pisces. And a lot of Children of Men also has to do with worlds within worlds, which again is kind of a very 12th house saying, like worlds within worlds within worlds. And when he goes to see Jasper, he has to move all of these branches away from the road because his house is secluded. And you'll see this throughout the movie. It's almost like it's a Chinese box. Right? This is where we first come into contact with a group called the Fishes. And these two characters are about to kidnap Theo, Clive Owen. So here we go. 200 refugees found dead in container. Like one of the things that the movie does, it will move the story along with all of these devices. It's fascinating how it does this. And then the Fishes are blamed for the bomb that went off in the coffee store. The fishes are Pisces. Right, so again, there's this current of Pisces running through this movie right from the jump. And why is that important? Well, it's important because Pisces is, number one, sacrificial, right? Again, whatever your religious beliefs are, right? The idea that Jesus was crucified on a cross, and in that moment, right, became an imminent manifestation of the Son of God, and it started the Piscean age. It was the beginning of the Piscean. The Piscean age is marked by sacrifice, right? So sacrifice is a significant theme in this movie. By the way, I got to say, Clive Owen, who is a Libra, trundles around. He's half shaven. He drinks. He smokes. He will be a hero, but he's a reluctant hero at best. All right, so now he's going to be kidnapped by the fishes. And again, this whole idea of the fishes is an important concept to wrap your head around because it's part of the theme. It's part of the theme of the movie. Pisces, fishes, sacrifice. All right, let me bring this up here. Let me see, where are we? Oh, yeah, right there. All right, so the next thing that happens is that he gets kidnapped and he gets thrown into this van. And it's not just any van, right? It's plumbing. You know, what is that all about? Well, first of all, right, a man's equipment is called his plumbing. And whatever's going on in this time, the plumbing isn't working. But also, plumbing is one of those things that is connected to Pisces. Now, plumbing is usually associated with the house, which is very Cancerian, but it's water, right? And eventually that water has to go somewhere. In some cases, that water will go to a water treatment plant. In some cases, it might even go to the sea and return to the source, right? So I thought that this was interesting and that they chose a plumbing van to put him in and hijack him from a symbolic level. Okay, so then he gets taken to this cell. It's not really a cell, but it is a cell. And again, it's very Piscean because nobody else is going there. It's confinement. But unlike the cages of the Fugees, it's a room that is filled with all of these newspapers. And when you look at the newspapers, it is essentially, but you have to actually stop the movie and you can read about what happened. Africa devastated by nuclear fallout. Charles should be thrown out. Extremist explosion. So again, it's one of the narrative drivers that Curzon uses to move the story along. Although it happens so quickly that it's nearly subliminal in a lot of ways. So you're picking up on what happened, even if you're not stopping the film. Here, let me read these things. Millions of people die in seconds. Like, what the fuck is this all about, right? They don't spend a lot of, it's a slow pan around the room. So your subconscious is picking it up and you're getting something. You may not be getting the whole story, but you're getting something. And the thing that's amazing about this movie is the attention to detail that's paid with every single scene, including this one. So while he's there, Okay, I'll show you. I think he's getting interrogated by the fishes here. So yeah, so this is. I should have put this in a freaking. I just didn't have time. Where'd we go? All right, so he's interrogated there, right? There, we did that. Hold on. 13. Let's do this one. And while he's interrogated, he meets up with. Where did we go? He meets up with Julianne Moore. Okay. So it's in the same space with all the newspapers. Julianne Moore plays his ex-wife, and she is actually the leader of the fishes. And this is a really interesting scene because she's bathed in golden light, right? Up until this point, everything has been dark and dreary and dismal and dystopic. And he takes his hood off, and there she is. So Julianne Moore, her character is really important in this movie, and it actually connects to another movie. And I'm going to give you some discontinuity here, but I think it's pretty interesting. So in this movie, she is in charge of getting this young woman, spoiler alert, coming right now, okay? Spoiler alert, this young woman named Key to something called the Human Project. He is pregnant. So out of 18 years and all this infertility, there is a woman who is pregnant. And Theo doesn't know it yet, but it is going to be his job to get her to the Human Project. Now, why is this important? Julianne Moore, and her character is named Julian, which is interesting, like close, right? Julianne Moore plays the Queen of Heaven. What do I mean by that? The Queen of Heaven and the Black Madonna are two symbols that intersect in this movie. And I'm going to show you another movie where Julianne Moore literally is the Queen of Heaven. Well, not literally, but you'll see what I'm talking about. And she's smart, she's bright, she's in charge of planning, she's in charge of communication. So she's all up here, right? She's all up here. Key, who plays the Black Madonna, is very simple. She's simple. She's kind of street. Nobody would mistake her for an intellectual. Now, what's also interesting about Julianne Moore is that she's a fish, and her and Theo used to be activists, right? They were fighting against the injustices of the government. So Theo was and Julian were doing the same thing, and I believe Julian was a journalist, but she was also an activist. So as an activist, what would you call her? She's a liberal, right? These are the people that believe in, at least in England, open borders, open the cages, let them out, right? Does that sound familiar? So in a weird way, even though it's not being completely spelled out in this movie, Julianne Moore plays the white liberal female, which is very important when it comes to Kamala Harris and her presidency. Like, that's who they're banking on. They're banking on the Julianne Moores of the world, at least as it relates to this movie. Now, her and Theo have had a child together a long time ago, only lived to the age of 2, right? So when he sees her, she's bathed in this golden light. It's almost blinding. It's almost like she's the sun. And through a number of, should I say this, events, he will eventually agree to help her. But in order to help her, he has to get travel papers for this young woman, Key, who is pregnant. And he knows somebody. So she's asking him because he knows somebody that's in the government who can help him get those travel papers. And that leads to the next scene, which is another one of these instances. Oh, I left out. I'm sorry, I forgot this. I should have put this in here before. But this is another Piscean theme in the movie. There are these two groups. There's the repenters, and then there's the renunciants. And again, it's very Piscean, right? Repent, repent, repent. They're talking about, the reason why all of this is happening is because, God's will has been, violated. This is the judgment that the earth has been, the judgment has been handed out to the planet, right? So it's another theme, another Piscean theme. You have these repenters and the renunciates. Okay. And here they are up close. Repent, repent, repent. Doom is eternal for the sinner. Repent. And so now we're into really good dystopia. So Julian, I'm sorry, Clive Owen and Theo has to pay a visit to this guy who I think is a member of his family. And again, it's another version of a world within a world, right? So again, this is very Piscean. This is very 12th housey. You see the gates, you see the guards. Yeah, that's the 12th house. Like, you're not getting in there unless you have the right credentials. And once he goes on the other side of the fence, there's an entirely different world there. Entirely different. And you can see that even the weather changes. Like, it's sunny behind those walls, behind the gated entry. And they have what looks like, the king and the queen's guard on their horses. And then there's like weird animals, like there's like a zebra walking around. There's like an elephant walking around. And then this is the resolution on this isn't very good, but you can see there's even like a band playing. I mean, these are people behind that gated entry. It's like the world didn't change. It's like this is Pax Britannia right here. And outside the gates it's like the gates of hell, right? But this is like a different version, but they're still in a prison. Like, for them, it's a version of the old world or the world that they used to know, but it's still a prison because once they leave and get on the other side of that gate, like they're kind of in the bowels of hell, right? They're in present time. So even though it looks nice and it feels better to them, it's still a prison. So it's a very 12th house kind of thing, right? And then he's got to go through yet another. He's got to go through yet another um, gateway, century, and entry. So again, it's worlds within worlds within worlds. So he's going literally deeper into this idea of the 12th house. And this is where he's going to meet his, they're never really clear about it, but it feels like he's a family member. Like he knows this guy and he's more than just a friend. And this is like a really bizarre scene. So you have David, right? Michelangelo, but it's not classic. It's like he's got this bionic leg. So once you enter into this place, like this is the first scene, you know you are in a very different kind of world. Like that's the first thing you see in this. It looks like an Afghan hound. So here he's sitting down and he's having dinner and he's about to ask him this question about getting these travel papers. And you can see that there's Guernica, right? This is Guernica. And it's a very heavy painting, Guernica. It's very apocalyptic. So that's in the background. And this is his son, who seems like he's semi-autistic or something. He's playing this very weird game with his hands. It's like a kind of a video game, but it's also weirdly tactile. So they're having a fine meal, unlike most other people. And if you look in the background, this is kind of a homage to Pink Floyd, right? Animals, and then the smokestacks. So this is the guy that he's going to ask for the papers. And along the way, they take these drugs. They take these little pills, which are, they're like a soporific, right? And again, it's very Piscean because it takes them out of like the suffering that's going on. It like takes the edge off of things. And so he's just taken one of these pills and he seems fairly blissed out by it. Okay, so now we go back into another Piscean environment. To me, bars are Piscean, right? Bars, nightclubs, they're very Piscean. And what do you do there? You go there for drink, and they stay open late. And there's the witching hour, and things happen after midnight, right? So he's there with Chiwitel Ojiafor, who is probably second in command of the fishes. And he's giving Theo the deal to accompany Key, right? And, Theo is getting hammered, which he does a lot. Not out of control hammered. He's like a functioning alcoholic. But again, it's very Piscean. And what you'll see with a lot of his shots in the movie is that they're framed in threes. So I believe that's Charlie Hunnam, who is one of the fishes, and he's in the background. And then you have Theo, and I forget Chiwetel's character's name, but you'll see this framing. It's like the Trinity, right? All right, let me stop here for a second because I want to go back to Julianne Moore, and I wanted to show you why I think she's an important. I would call it sort of an astrosync. Like there's an astrosync synchromistic connection here with Julianne Moore. And it comes from a very different source. So before I go any further, let me just take you to another movie. And I'm going to show you why she plays a very interesting role here. So this is her in The Big Lebowski. And you're like, what, Robert, what the fuck? What does this have to do with Children of Men? Well, first of all, she's holding a trident. And what have we been talking about the whole time? Pisces. Now, in this scene, it's a dream sequence, right? It's a dream sequence. And she is, and the dream sequence isn't hers, it's the dude's. And it's about him mating with her, right? And the dude, Jeff Bridges, he's a stoner. He's a loser. He's a slob. But she wants to mate with him. Why? Well, that's a thread for The Big Lebowski. Because she does she says, Jeffrey, please go see my doctor. Please go see my doctor. I want you to take some tests. She's getting his blood tested. He never says this in the movie. He's getting his blood tested because she wants to know what his blood is like and if he's going to be a worthy carrier of her child. It's all about bloodline stuff. Emily and I were talking about this on Monday, right? So in this frame, she is actually portraying, I believe, Freya, right? Now, you got to stay with me on this because Freya is a queen of heaven, right? Julianne Moore in Children of Men plays the Mary character, which is the queen of heaven. And Key plays the Black Madonna. So how does the dude meet her in The Big Lebowski? It's this opening scene where he goes to her art compound and she literally descends from heaven into the studio. It's this weird splatter painting technique, right? She literally descends from heaven from this scene. She comes out of the sky and splat, right? Okay, so just hold that together for a second. Okay. Now I'm trying to establish here that there is something else going on in Children of Men that is not just about Pisces, the second coming, like all those things are in there, right? But there's something else going on. So this is Freya and this is Inanna, right? And Inanna is the queen of heaven. Look at Freya and Inanna. They both have these horned crowns and they both have wings. Freya, if you don't know like Freya's role in Norse mythology, it's quite interesting. So I don't know how this is sorted out, but after the Norse warriors, Vikings, after they died, there's this idea that they go to Valhalla in heaven, right? With Odin. Not all of them do. There are others who wind up going to a different place. They go to where Freya is. Freya, I'll show you this. Freya rules over her heavenly field, Folkvanger, where she receives half of those who die in battle. The other half go to the god Odin's hall, Valhalla. Within Folkvanger lies her hall, Sesruminur. Freya assists other deities by allowing them to use her feathered cloak, is invoked in matters of fertility, love, and is frequently sought after by powerful Jotnar who wish to make her their wife, right? So this is a very interesting connection. And Inanna is also a Sumerian god and the queen of heaven. Now, what's also interesting is that her character in The Big Lebowski is named Maud. And when you look at the word Maud, it's connected to two different words. Matilda, which is mighty in battle, and also Magdala or Madeline. So we have another version of Mary with Maud. So I'm thinking, wow, this is really kind of mind-blowing, right? So Julianne Moore literally plays the Queen of Heaven in The Big Lebowski. Her last name is Lebowski, by the way. They're not related. And then she winds up having, it's not in the movie, but she will have Jeff Lebowski's child. You have to ask, why would she want to have a child with this guy? It's because of the bloodline, and she figures it out, right? It's like she literally comes down from heaven to mate with a human, right? A human male. Okay, so let me go back to the other movie because it's also very important. Okay, so before I go to the other movie, the piece of the Black Madonna is really important because Key is the Black Madonna, and you're about to meet Key. So this is a scene from later in the movie where Theo is protecting Key and the baby. And this is a traditional image. I believe this is from the south of Spain, of the Black Madonna. And here's a more contemporary image of the Black Madonna. Right, so the Black Madonna, and I've been talking about this for the last couple of days. Like the Black Madonna and the Queen of Heaven are vital, right? And if you look at Kamala Harris and what I would call the liberal white female voter, right? That is a variant of this idea of Mary, the Queen of Heaven, even though they're not, right? And the Black Madonna, because that's where the support for Kamala's base really is. So there's something here, like alchemically, with Julianne Moore in Children of Men, but also in The Big Lebowski. And it came to me this morning when I was working, I'm like, fuck, she was Maud in The Big Lebowski, and she plays this fertility. She's a riff on this fertility goddess, right? She comes out of heaven in the scene where the dude is waiting for her. And then the dream sequence, she's Freya, and then she's Inanna, right? She's both of those things, and both Inanna and Freya, they're involved with the administration of heaven. So it's like, okay, this is trippy. All right, so we're going to go back now to Children of Men, but I just needed to bring that up because it's a really important part of the movie. All right, let me see if I can open this thing up here. Hold on. Oh, great. Okay. Wonderful. So now I am stuck between worlds. Okay, let me get rid of this. Okay, I hope you guys are following me here. All right, let me try this one more time. Okay. All right. So this is when Theo first meets Key. Right here. Come back, come back, come back. So this is where Theo first meets Key. It's in this car, and here's Julianne Moore. She is in the passenger seat. There is Theo, Clive Owen. This is the midwife. Key is in the back seat. And this is where they first meet. Chiwitel Ojiafor, who will wind up playing the role of Judas in the movie, as you'll see, and it's part of the Piscean theme of the betrayer. So now she's giving him the side eye because he's the guy that is supposed to take her all the way to the end, the human project. But something happens along the way. And what happens is that the Julianne Moore character gets killed. And her name is Julian in the movie, so it's not very different. She gets killed. So now there's a bit of a change of plans. And the question is, who kills her? It's the fishes. The fishes kill her. And that's why Chiwitel Ojiafor is a traitor, because they have different plans for Key. They want to use the baby as a symbol to unite the world and to free the Fugees. So now we're in another world, right? This is this farmhouse where Theo will find out that they have different plans. Now you also have to understand here that there's a very intense scene where Julianne Moore is killed in that scene. It's very, very powerful. And Theo was her husband, right? So he has to process all of that. He has to process the whole thing. And then he finds out that they plan on killing him and killing the midwife and then taking Key. Now, he doesn't know why he's taking Key yet. That has not been revealed to him, but it's about to be revealed to him. And it is a shocking scene. Where are we? Where's Key? Right here. This is where she reveals that she's pregnant. Right? And what's interesting is that this is almost like a manger scene. Now, here, there are all these mature cows, but below here are calves, newly born. And clearly he's shocked. And what's also interesting about this scene is that as you drive through, like, the landscape, they say it's the Camberwell area. You see these piles of cows that are just burning, right? So those are symbols of, like, dead fertility. But here in this barn, that's not the scene. Now, what's interesting is that in this scene, Theo asks her, "Who's the father?" And she says, "Father, I'm a virgin." And there's a long pause, right? And he's, kind of stunned. And then she laughs. She says, "I don't know who it is," right? But there's this implication, like they're getting you to think along these lines, right? They're getting you to think that this is the next version of Mary, right? This is the Black Madonna. This is the Black Madonna. This is ultimately what this film is portraying. Okay. Kamala Harris is the false Black Madonna. And I'm going to talk about, again, why this is an important detail. And it has everything to do with Regulus and Virgo. All right, so here we go. Oh, we got frozen. Oh, fuck, I hate this. Okay. Don't go away. Don't go away. I will be right back. All right, sorry about that. The computer wasn't even Chrome; it was the computer. All right, I'm going to try to move this along. I want to keep you guys. I want to keep your attention. Okay, where are we? Right here. All right. So remember, I talked about how they frame everything in threes and trinities. So you can see the amazing thing about this movie is that Curazon, the director, has such an amazing feel for like light and shade. Everything about this is perfect. You think, well, it's just a scene in a farmhouse, but there's nothing that's out of place. There's nothing that's out of place. Like even this little knick-knacky thing here, whatever that is, right? And so Chiwetel Ejiofor, his character, is basically telling Key, hey, have the baby here. Have the baby here, and we'll protect you, and we'll make sure that it's a symbol for the rest of the world. And the midwife is like, kind of on the fence. And she asked Theo, like, you know, what should I do? And he says, well, I'm going to leave it up to you. It's your baby. Oh, smart man. But he is Judas, right? Now, this, again, the theme of sacrifice is prevalent in this movie. Julianne Moore dies, right? It is her idea. It is her plan to get Key to the ocean so that she can be with the Human Project. Remember, in that role, she is playing air, right? She's air. She's idea. She's thought. She's concept. She's plan, right? So the triangle of air moves upwards, right? Key is earth, and Key is also life, right? It's like Key, life force, and she's earth. So her triangle is pointing downwards. So the two of them, again, are this symbol of feminine air, and then feminine earth. Mary, Inanna, Freya, the Queen of Heaven, Key, the Black Madonna, Queen of Earth, right? She will wind up also dying. She sacrifices herself for Key. There are 4 sacrifices in the movie. The one that's the biggest sacrifice, of course, is at the end. And again, this is a spoiler alert. It is Theo. Of course, it's going to be Theo. So what happens to Theo? Well, he finds out. He finds out about their nefarious plan. So what does he do? He hijacks a car. Now, what's interesting, that's again a recurring theme in the movie. You can see that he doesn't have any shoes on. Right? So what rules the feet? It's Pisces and the soul. And this is just one scene that is going to be prevalent in the movie that has to do with his feet and his soul. So they make a getaway, and they're able to get out of the clutches of the fishes, which is quite important. The next place that they will wind up at is with Jasper. And Jasper is played by Michael Caine. And this is probably not the best picture of Michael Caine in the movie, but I'll give you one. So this is actually when they escape. And again, Michael Caine lives in this house with his wife, who is catatonic, and she had been beaten up because she was a journalist. She'd been beaten up by the government for, I don't know, being a whistleblower or just being a journalist. And in this scene, Michael Caine is nodding off. And the reason he's nodding off is because they have a drug called quietus. And it's, again, very Piscean, right? It comes in ampules. You shoot it up, and it takes you places. And you'll see ads for quietus throughout the movie. And there's always a tagline. And the tagline is, when you're ready to go, right? So basically, they're providing people with home suicide kits. Now, if you don't take it all at once, you'll get high, like Michael Caine's character does. So Michael Caine is about to sacrifice himself for Key and for Theo, and he has a plan to get them into a prison called Bexhill. And Bexhill, a prison, is again Piscean, right? It's a Piscean environment. But before they go to Bexhill, Theo has to have his feet cleaned. It's almost like an anointment, right? This is kind of an anointment that he is going to be the person who is going to essentially sacrifice himself for the baby, the Black Madonna, and really what I believe that the theme of the movie is the second coming, right? But you wouldn't think that the second coming would be a Black woman and a female Black baby, right? But when you look around, again, you look around sort of the constellation of our society, right? And whether or not this is intentional or whether or not this is part of like this ongoing narrative, whether or not it's connected to when Regulus went into Virgo and it went from being like fire fixed masculine into mutable feminine. I mean, look at the figures who have become popular over the last 8 years. Stacey Abrams, Kamala Harris, Candace Owens, Joy Reid. Again, whether you like these people or not, Ketanji Brown Jackson. Do you see what I'm talking about? Like, it's kind of fitting this narrative that's part of the movie. Now you can say this is predictive programming, and it might be, right? It might be predictive programming, but it's also part of the narrative. All right. So that's another Piscean theme with his feet. And we'll see that again before the movie is over. And now he has to wear these flip-flops. So again, it's emphasizing the feet. The flip-flops are sandals. And when we think of sandals, what do we think of? We think of another time. We think of Jesus. So what's interesting is that Theo actually is a Christ-like figure in this movie. And again, that's Pisces. So they have to go to Bexhill, which is a prison. And this is Michael Caine, who plays Jasper. Remember, Michael Caine's a Pisces as well. And this is him telling him what to do, where to go. And he's about to be confronted by the fishes, and the fishes will kill him. Before that, he will go into his house and he will inject enough quietus in his catatonic wife to make sure that she doesn't suffer. So this is the second sacrifice that will occur in this movie. Again, this is a Piscean theme. This is an interesting scene where they spend the night at a school. Now, I'm just bringing this up because this is how filmmaking at a really subconscious level works. So you can see back here, it's Hillside Elementary. But then next to it is this statue of a triceratops. And a triceratops is a dinosaur. It's like it's from another time. And it's a symbol to illustrate that the school, in their memory, is about as ancient as the dinosaur. To me, this is incredible filmmaking. Like, is that the mascot of the fucking school, the Triceratops? I don't think so. So they spend the night there, and they're about to meet this guy who is going to take them into Bexhill. This is the school. What's interesting about this is that it mirrors, in some ways, the Guernica shot from earlier in the movie. Okay, so this is the modern Guernica. And then again, you can see the fish. So this Piscean theme, again, is just running through the film, right? And it brings up all those Piscean symbols. Christ, the fish, sacrifice, right? The resurrection, the Piscean age. And again, it's contextualized by what's going on with Key and the Black Madonna. This is interesting, right? She's standing on a checkerboard floor. That's very Masonic, by the way. And it looks like this is Ezra, but this really literally got my eye when I saw the fish. It's like, oh yeah, here we go. Another secondary symbol, not even a secondary symbol. And this is the inside of the school, and it looks like just something completely from another time. And this is just prior to a deer which crosses the hallway here. There are things in this movie that will just come out of nowhere and will startle you. And it's like the intrusion of the natural world. So now they're on the bus to Bexhill. And one of the things that these people are slightly reminiscent of are Jews going to a concentration camp. Right? And he's like, this guy wants a cigarette. And she's telling him all her problems, and he cannot understand her. And he's saying, what the fuck have I gotten into? So here we go, Homeland Security, Bexhill Refugee Camp. And you're going to see, again, a world within a world within a world, which is very 12th housey, very Piscean. This is like an open-air prison. And you can see it on the horizon. And here it borders the ocean, which, again, is a symbol of Pisces. Right here. That's where they're going. Now, the guy that gets them there is this guy named Sid, who will play a very important role. So now, again, there's another entrance. So it's a world within a world within a world. And they've got one more entrance to go through until they're fully into Bexhill. And everything gets very dark. So now you get to see people in cages. This is where the film gets incredibly visceral. And the woman who's a midwife, that's her. She literally sacrificed herself for Key. And they took her off the bus, and she's going to be killed. That is the third sacrifice. I don't know if you guys saw that up. Here you go. Right there. The Bexhill stuff is really dark. Really, really dark. Again, they don't leave any, the director leaves no attention, no detail. Like, there's incredible attention to detail. There's like nothing out of place. And everything happens so quickly in some ways. And you're like, what did I just see? What did I just see? And when you go through the movie and you slow everything down, you're like, holy shit, that was going on. That was going on. And the power of something like that is that it hits your subconscious. Now they're going through another layer, right? They're going through this labyrinth where they're going to go into the open air facility of Bexhill, and everything becomes night. Like it just goes into this dark night. And on the other side, like it's crazy. This guy's being carted around. He's legless. It kind of reminds me of like scenes from Max Headroom. It's this, like open air bazaar. It's just wild and strange. But again, it's very Piscean because these people are prisoners. They're not there in their own volition. And then again, this is one of those scenes where he just walks past these bodies that are burning, right? It's funeral pyres. And again, if you don't stop the movie, you will miss this, right? But what is the 12th house? The 12th house is where we go when we die, right? When we pass on, we go to the 12th house. We go to hospice. We go to a hospital, right? That's the 12th house. This is the 12th house. This is what we're seeing. These people have come to Bexhill to die. So again, this is an incredibly Piscean theme. It's not just this idea of the second coming. It's more than that. So we got it. Oh yeah. So here we go. This is another scene. They meet this woman called America. And this is another frame where he frames everything in threes. Well, not everything, but a lot of. And look at this. This is almost like a Renaissance painting, right? It's sort of, you get an incredibly religious feel from this. Like something profound is about to happen. And she's taking him to this room where Key is going to give birth. And the other thing about this room is that they're ascending, right? They're ascending. They're literally going to a higher plane. And by the way, Marika does not speak English. So everything's being sort of communicated via like pointing and other things, right? But he's managing to capture like the religiosity. And here we go. This is the next scene where again, there's this framing of three, right? It's Theo, it's Key, and it's the light. It's not just people, but he uses threes to frame things. And the three is the Trinity. But there's also like the law of, when you work with the number three in terms of like framing stuff, or even with music, it's really pretty remarkable. So she is about to give birth to the first child in 18 years. So here's Theo. Again, it's the three, right? Theo, the baby, and then the light. The light is illumination. So the baby is a light unto the world. And I guess you could throw the old dishwasher or the old washing machine in there as the three, but I'm going to use the illumination of the lamp. And again, you look at this and it seems just the way that it's lit, it seems incredibly religious. Incredibly religious. And the scene where she was with the cows is kind of what's the word I'm looking for? It's a harbinger of what's to come, right? Like it's kind of a manger, but this is really the metaphor for the manger. It's this room, right? It's a world within a world within a world. So the next scene is where they get a visit from Sid. It's where they get a visit from Sid. And Sid is another betrayer. But not like Chichi. not like a Ojiafor. No, why is this scene important? Well, first of all, again, you see the three, right? Curzon frames everything, not everything, but most things in three. And Sid has not seen the baby, but he sees the baby. And the first two words out of his mouth are Jesus Christ, Jesus Christ. Those are the first two words out of his mouth. Those words are intentional. What's interesting about Clive Owen is he's wearing the London 2012 Olympics sweater. And it hadn't even happened yet. They released this film before the Olympics. Like, how fucking genius is that? It's fucking genius. That's attention to detail. Having a beat up sweater from the Olympics that haven't even happened yet. More Piscean symbolism right here. He loses his flip-flops and then he cuts his foot. So now his soul is bleeding. Literally, his soul is bleeding. And he is trying to get her to a safe place. He's literally just taken out Sid because Sid wanted the baby, right? Sid was not good. So now he tells her, America, he's not communicating. He can't communicate with her, but he needs to get a boat to get to the human project. So again, what does this look like, right? This looks like something that a fisherman would be in. And what is the metaphor for Jesus? Like a fisher of souls. It's also really interesting that the symbol of the atom is here. So Adam is also like Adam, right? The first man, although Key will give birth to an Eve, not an Adam. So she's going to take him to a boat. Again, staying with that Piscean theme. But between now and then, all hell breaks loose. And there's a riot. There's a revolt in Bexhill. And what do you see here? You see a pale horse. Again, there are these things that happen with animals in this movie that come out of nowhere. And it's like this, it's this strangely dystopic and pretty artificial world. But every now and then nature will intrude in a way that will just like, whoa, what just happened there? And so there's this massive riot going on. The Muslims are rioting because that's who's inside of Bexhill. And you see the pale horse, right? This is the end times, right? This is the end. This is the Omega. And you can see right here, it's also, so this guy on this door, I don't know who he is. He's not a pertinent character in the movie, but he is following the horse. And the incredible thing, like even the background characters and the looks on their faces, you feel like you are in the fucking movie. You feel like it. Okay. Here, let me go back. I don't think you guys saw that last one. Here. Right there. I want to make sure you saw the horse too. Right there. Okay. Right there. Right there. And now we're here. So again, where are we? We're a world. It's a world within a world within a world. So now they go into a new place. And what's interesting is that this guy is kind of like, he looks like Michael Caine, right? He looks like the Michael Caine character, but he's not. And just look at that shot. Like that shot is incredible. You know, you have this weathered door, and you know this guy, and it looks a little Illuminati shit, but whatever. It's an incredible shot. So then they go into this room because they have to meet this. And again, this is part of the room. Look at the attention to detail. It's just incredible, right? So now we're into like this depiction of Orthodox icons, and then there's Lenin. So they're telling this guy's life story, right? Him as a young man. There he is. That's the guy behind the door, right? That's his. These are his kids. Like it's amazing how these stories are being told just by these little artifacts and mementos. Right there. See it right there. Okay. I'm running out of room. Again, framed in threes, right? The Trinity, 1, 2, 3. And it's this really beautiful, touching scene where, you know, these people are just, you know, delighted to have this experience. And, you know, and I think what the director is doing is he's redeeming the migrants. He's redeeming the refugees. Like these are people. Like these are people too. They have lives. They've had lives, right? I think there's a lot of. I think there's a lot of love in you know in these scenes. Actually, not all of them, but in those scenes. So here we go. He's going to get another pair of shoes. So it reinforces this Piscean theme. But look at the attention to detail. He could have just handed them some shoes, but no. They've got these little cookies that look like they're, you know, fairly ethnic. Candle that's burnt down. Pills. Somebody's pills. Like, you know, they're medicine. You know, I don't know what these books are, but they look real. They look legit. Like the attention to detail is fucking off the hook in this movie. So he's going to get those beat up old Adidas, and those will be the last pair of shoes that he will ever wear. Now, again, they come out of that space. They think they're okay. But nature intrudes again. There's these weird scenes where the natural world, a world that's clearly more fertile than the human world. And what do we see here? We see another symbol of the fish. And again, look at these people. Like they're kind of ducked in. Like they're just extras, but they're playing roles consummately. Like just sticking their fucking head out, right? Like at the right time. And, you know, displaying this, you know, kind of very weird and you know, cloistered, safe but unsafe kind of vibe. Okay. Now here we go. Here comes the fishes. They come back into the scene. Right. So remember, fishes are Pisces, and he is the betrayer. He is Judas. So here he is. Right. Again, you can see the framing of the three. Key, I forget his name in the movie. And then Marika, and then Theo is just kind of hidden right here. And she's about to spit in his face. He's about to die. And then right after this, he takes he with him and the baby, and then all hell breaks loose. So again, attention to detail, right? They're running. Like there's all this, you know, mayhem and violence going on. The fishes have entered Bexhill. this is the start of the revolution. What do you see? Or you see Atlantis, right? Which again is a very Piscean reference. The lost kingdom of Atlantis. And now in this scene, Curzon breaks the fourth wall. Now you're seeing blood on the lens. Like, okay, what is going on here? If you're a director, it's like you haven't reflected the lens at all the entire movie. But now all of a sudden it gets visceral, it gets real. And you're like, what? What? It's a technique, right? It's like he's breaking the fourth wall, but he's breaking the fourth wall in a way that is not obtrusive. It gets into your psyche. And it's like blood is splattering everywhere. And then here's Key with the baby's hand. And she's about to, by the way, Chiwitel Ojiafor winds up getting killed. But not before he puts a few bullets into Theo. So now they're descending, and all these people are seeing the baby. And it takes on, again, this incredibly religious vibe. And I love this shot. Like, you're never going to see this shot because it's all moving, right? But look at the expression on the people's faces. Like, this guy is like, he's so happy that he sees this baby. All these people are like, oh my God, it's a baby, right? And she's like, please, 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 please. And Clive Owen's character, Theo, he's soaked in blood. And look at the look in his face. Like, these people are acting every single second, every single frame. It's there was no point in this movie that I wasn't in the movie. Do you know what I mean? There was no point where I wasn't in the movie. That is how effective, like, the world building is in this movie. And you can see here the effect of the child. These guys see the child. You're seeing, like, the child from their eyes. This guy takes a knee. That's pretty prescient, wasn't it? I'll show you another scene. Again, they're like, oh my God, look, it's a baby. Now they're there to quell the rebellion. So you have the fishes, you have the migrants, all hell is breaking loose in this place. And for a brief moment in time, this baby brings peace to everybody. And then the shelling starts again. Water theme, right? She's taking him to the Bexhill Water Authority. And look at the color. It's blue, right? We're moving into blue. And blue is a Piscean color, right? It matches the color of the ocean. It's a Piscean color. So we're really moving very deeply into the 12th house. And we've seen 1, 2, 3 sacrifices so far. Julianne Moore, Julian, Jasper, and the midwife, whose name I forget. So Marika finds them this boat. And again, you can see the framing of the 3 and the Trinity. And again, this feels almost biblical in some ways. Like, he's able to get this kind of like ragged Renaissance feel with the lighting and sort of the muted colors. But you'll see a lot of like that Trinity in the 3 in Renaissance paintings. And here's another version of it. And Theo's trying to get her to go, but she won't. And she's just reaching out, like just getting one last touch of her. And by the way, she will also be a sacrifice, but not directly. So they're getting close to their goal, which is to get to the ocean. And it's like, okay, this is the journey to the 12th house, right? They're going to, and it's also very much like the birth canal. And they're about to break through to this right here. So now they're in the open sea, and everything is blue, and everything is Piscean. Right? They have now returned to the source, theoretically, right? And by the way, Theo is wounded, and Theo is not going to make it. Again, framing in 3 with the lighthouse or the buoy with the light on it, Key and Theo, 1, 2, 3. And this is just before Theo is about to keel over. And he says, "They got me. They got me." Let me see. The same shot. Yeah, it's the same shot. All right, we're almost done here. So thank you for your patience. So this is the last scene in the movie. And this is the ship tomorrow. And these were the people that were scheduled to pick her up. And what's interesting is the symbol on the bow of the ship, right? That T is a Tau cross, which is originally, supposedly, that was the original symbol for the crucifix, the Tau cross. So this was the group, the Human Project, that was there scheduled to pick her up. So she is, and her baby, the girl, they are part of tomorrow, right? That's going to be the story of humanity. It's Key and her baby. And again, the themes of the movie are quite clear, right? That number one, life is a sacrifice, but that sacrifice is also reminiscent of the original sacrifice of the Piscean age. And that Theo, he's bleeding out of his chest at the end, right? You can just see him. It's almost like, the spear of Longinus. So he makes the ultimate sacrifice for Key and for humanity, right? But the other underlying theme here is that Key is the Black Madonna, and that her baby is the second coming. That is the underlying theme of this movie. Now, it may not sit well with you. You may say, well, geez, did they have to make it, do they have to make it a black person, black woman, black baby? That's the theme. I'm just giving you the theme, right? Just giving you the theme. But if you look at it from this angle that I started to talk about yesterday, it makes complete sense, because we are in this time where, I just wanted to show you, right? So this is this is Earth pointing downwards. This is air pointing upwards. And what do you get? You get the 6-pointed star. Now, you tell me if the people who created that flag didn't know what they were doing, right? Ruling over heaven and earth. Kind of an interesting symbol, isn't it? But if you look at Julianne Moore's role in that movie, she is playing air, right? She's the one that comes up with the plan. She's the one that has the quote unquote knowledge. She's the one that has the logistics, right? She plays that role. He is Earth. And then if you go back and look at Julianne Moore in Big Lebowski, she is the queen of the air. She literally descends from the air. And then what does she do? Right? She becomes Freya. She becomes Inanna, right? In the dream sequence. And then, of course, she has Jeff Lebowski's kid. I mean, well, they do the thing. And eventually she'll have the kid, right? So I'm just giving you this weird little backstory about her role literally as the Queen of Heaven. So how does that flesh out in a contemporary setting? Kamala Harris is being promoted as the Black Madonna. She's being promoted as the Black, but she's not even really Black. She's Caribbean, okay, and she's Indian, right? But this is how she's being promoted. She's being promoted as the Black Madonna. And all of the Taylor Swifts, right? The Swifties, and what I would call Elizabeth Warren said, well, this woman asked her, so what was the greatest accomplishment of Kamala Harris when she was vice president? And Elizabeth Warren, with a straight fucking face, said her greatest accomplishment was that she visited an abortion clinic. That was her greatest fucking accomplishment, was visiting an abortion clinic. She said that with a straight fucking face, right? So the reason I'm bringing that up, again, this is all counterfeit. This is not real. But Elizabeth Warren and the liberal white progressive, what I would call monad, right, is representative of air in this idea of the Queen of Heaven. And Kamala Harris is theoretical Earth, right? And together, right, they would create the Imagined Star. But it's counterfeit. It's counterfeit. Kamala Harris is not that archetype. Why is she not? And again, I'm just telling you because the Black Madonna has a child. And I'm not saying that if you don't have a kid, you don't understand, you have no investment in the future. I'm talking from a symbolic perspective. She does not have a child. She cannot be the Black Madonna. Kamala Harris is actually a set. And a set sounds like asset, doesn't it? She's a set. Who is a set? A set is a Sumerian figure that comes into the Egyptian cosmology, and a set is like a sacred concubine. That's who a set is. And then yesterday we looked at the Star Trek episode where Famke Janssen plays Kamala, this woman named Kamala, who is this metamorph, and she has incredibly strong pheromones, and she bonds completely with the man that she's with and becomes whatever that man wants her to be. Right? Very interesting. It's very interesting. So in that regard, she's kind of like this galactic sort of consort in some ways. That's who Kamala is. Oh, by the way, Famke Janssen is born on November 5th, and the election is being held on November 5th. So what they're giving, again, this is all based on this movie, right? This is sort of the other iteration of this movie, is that what they're giving us is a counterfeit version of the Black Madonna. Again, Candace Owens would have been a much better candidate. Much better candidate. I mean, who knows? She might have been a better candidate than Kamala and Trump. I mean, a little facetious here, but in some ways, maybe not. Right? So that's what they're giving us. Like they are bringing Kamala Harris forth as an image of the Black Madonna. And that image is being powered by mostly white liberal women who would represent error. It's an interesting alchemy, and not one that I'm necessarily all that passionate about. Right? I just gave you a version of the Black Madonna through Children of Men. That's really what it looks like. At least that version of it. Right? And then everything that's related to it, which is the second coming, right? The the black female baby Jesus, right? All that is part of this idea of the Black Madonna. That is not Kamala Harris. So it's interesting to think along these lines that they're giving us this symbol, but she is not that. She is not that. It's a counterfeit version. So Children of Men, in summation, is a lot of things. It's predictive programming, because look at all the people that have been basically shipped to Europe: England, Ireland, France, Germany, Italy, you name it. It's a problem, and it's going to become more problematic. And we have the French Olympics just starting today. Heaven help those people over there, because that could be a total shit show. A lot of people are saying it's going to be like a replay of the 1972 Olympics in Munich. I don't know. When I think of Paris, I think of decapitations, and I think of the Jacobins. I don't think of Munich. It has its own sort of mythological and archetypal symbolism. So Children of Men is about Pisces, right? It's all the manifestations of Pisces. It's sacrifice. It's renunciates. It's renunciation. It's drugs. It's quietus, right? It's worlds within worlds within worlds. It's prisons. It's refugees. If you go back to 2011, when I was at Gaia TV, I did a show on Gaia when Neptune went into Pisces. And I talked about this. I said, this is going to be a big fucking deal with Neptune and Pisces. A big deal. And I talked about the whole immigrant thing. Pisces and the ocean and crossing the water and people taking them in, based on these Christian principles of suffering and generosity and charity and all that stuff. Early Neptune Pisces. And the first boat that was bringing a lot of these migrants to Europe was titled Aquarius. So we have the Aquarian ideal. Can't we all get along, right? And that boat continued to bring, literally tens of thousands of migrants until the thing got retired. Hello, Jasper. So Children of Men is predictive programming. Clearly, like, how predictive can it get and will it get? Is it predicting an infertility rate that's going to, or fertility rate's going to drop? Yeah. I wouldn't have any problem. I would have a problem with it, but I wouldn't have a problem with it as part of the predictive programming, particularly what we went through in 2020. We have no idea how that's going to affect us. Pluto and Aquarius, right? Synthetic biology. So that's kind of locked in there. So we have the fertility rate dropping. We have the migrants and the migrant issue. That's here. That's now. And we're not even in 2027 yet. Right? 2027 is probably peak Saturn and Aries. And Neptune, of course, joining it earlier. So I hope I haven't ruined the movie for you by giving away all these spoilers. But even after this dive into Children of Men, I would highly recommend watching it because it moves so quickly, and there are so many things in the movie that I did not cover that have to do with some of the ancillary scenes that are really important in a lot of ways, but not to the point where I wanted to try to demonstrate. Ultimately, this movie is about the Black Madonna and the Second Coming, and Pisces and sacrifice, and suffering, and ultimately the power of soul, right? The power of soul. And it's Theo whose feet get beaten up through the entire movie, whose foot gets bloodied at the end. He's the one that has the soul that brings key to tomorrow and the Tau Cross on the bow of the ship. All right. A long-ish Friday FARcast. Thank you for being here. I appreciate it. And Mods, thank you for your help and all your work. And I don't know, after watching Children of Men, you begin to appreciate your life just a little bit more. Like, geez, you mean it could get that bad? I'll leave you with that. All right. Thank you for being here. Hey, come join us. Come join us in October at our gathering in the Hill Country here. Return to Venus. It's going to be Libra season. It's always pleasant, right? Libra is my 11th house. So it's always a good time to meet up with people and check in with our community in 3D. So the link is in the chat, and it's also on my Twitter page. Thank you, everybody. For all you locals people, I will endeavor to resend the link to tomorrow's members only 4-month preview forecast. Okay. All right. Thanks for supporting the show. Jasper's here, by the way, as well. We started off with Peachy, and we end with the old guy, the Buddha. Oh yeah, listen to that right there. ASMR. All right. Thanks, everybody. God bless you. Treat each other well. Love you lots. See you on Sunday. Bye for now.